Congratulations, you've got fish. But wait, you've got more. You've got a polystyrene box. Now I'll tell you something about polystyrene boxes that you probably didn't know. But first, we'll have a tip which might be of benefit for those with canister filters or who one day might get one. Sunlight can be a really good thing for your tank. It'll make the water sparkle, you get good shadows, and of course it's really good for your plants. But then again, too much of a good thing is not so good. Algae. But there are ways to control that. Now, of course, you can try to block the sunlight from getting through the window, or even use something like a curtain. Other methods could include having a film on the back of your tank, although that would tend to diffuse the light rather than block it out completely. When all else fails, you could try something like black polythene across the back of the tank. If you're using a canister filter or thinking about getting one, then there's something else you might want to consider, and that is the tubing. Where it doesn't get much light, it will get a little bit grimy, but not be too bad. But if it gets any sunlight, then that tubing will attract algae, and sometimes it can really build up and look ugly. Now, I had been battling an outbreak of algae and cyanobacteria in my river tank, and while I was concentrating on that, I noticed that it was accumulating quite badly in the tubing for the filter. It got to the stage when I was thinking that the cyanobacteria in the tubing itself was breaking off and recirculating back into the tank. Whether this is the case or not, I don't know, but I went off in search of a solution. And this is what I found: corrugated split tubing. Now, this is a product that's available for most larger box stores, or you could obtain it from a specialist electrical outlet. It's generally used by electricians to group wires together or to protect them, as it is flame resistant. It's available in various lengths and different diameters. So it's just a question of wrapping it around your tubing or sliding the tube inside. Now, I did promise you a tale, so let's rip into it. And here is my tiger tank. It's home to a group of tiger barbs, a few ruby barbs, and a couple of Danio overstayers, which I just could not catch to relocate to another tank. This is a tank of two worlds. The front half, the fish will gather to socialise and of course wait for food. But on the back of the tank, it's their little hidden paradise. There they will pair up and scatter eggs. They will then join groups and hunt down those eggs and any fry that may have hatched. As a result, this little population would be unable to grow. So I decided I'll try to get some fry. I'm going to try a method used by a number of YouTubers, in particular keeping fish simple. Now what he uses is a container such as this fish box and one of these pots that are used for planting into ponds. So to support this off the bottom, I'll just use this bit of gravel retainer. The basket will sit on there next, and to ensure that it doesn't float round, I'll use a couple of rocks on the bottom, and it makes it fairly sturdy. And the fish will of course try to jump out once I place them in there, but the idea is I'll put the breeding fish in here, put some plants, put some plants in there, say Java moss, and hopefully let nature take its course. Now the lid will just go on the top, stop them jumping out and enable me to see that all is well. I'll probably just put something across the top of that just to shade it so the fish are not going to be spooked by people moving around in the room. And there's room in there for a heater because at the moment it's midwinter here. Yep. Coming to inspect. Yep, it's now sitting, well, it was sitting on the cell phone there. I guess it's a bit hungry. I might go and see if I can find some food. All went to plan. There were eggs and then fry. So I thought I'd keep them in this container for a few days and then they would move into what would be their grow out tank. But something was not right. There was a horrible smell. No, not that smell. This was the smell of damp carpet. Well, there is a disadvantage of using a polystyrene box. They're not necessarily waterproof. I don't know if the camera can pick up, but that floor is wet. I've moved it over to this tile floor as the carpet was getting saturated around the aquarium and I couldn't figure out where the water was coming from. This box of course was sitting straight on the carpet. I would never have guessed that it's not waterproof. Once I moved out the fish, I had a good look, but all the polystyrene beads that make up the box seemed tightly interconnected and there was no visible sign at all of any hole. So I presume the water just sort of must seep its way around those beads. So the moral of the story is, a water container is only a water container if it contains the water. And what happened to the baby fish? Well, they did grow larger and have now joined the adults in the tiger tank. There is a mix. The ruby barbs have 3 vertical stripes across the main part of the body, whereas the tiger barbs only have 2 in that same area. Personally, I prefer the look of the tiger barbs with their flash of red colour. The ruby barb males certainly do show their red head, but it's not as striking as the tiger barbs. As far as temperament goes, the tiger barbs were very peaceful, although they might do a bit of chasing. However, the rubies did not hesitate to nip their own kind. And in fact, the largest of the fish is the ruby barb, and that's the dominant fish in the tank. Well, thank you for seeing this through to the finish. Hope you enjoyed it, and I might catch you on my next video.